Hi, everybody. I'm Joel Whitaker. I'm the editor of Kane's Beverage News Daily and the host of the Beverage Barons series. And today we're talking with Chris Swonger, who holds two jobs, namely, he's Chief Executive Officer of the Distilled Spirits Council of the United States and also of Responsibility.org. And Chris, I want you to do two things for me. I want you to explain what responsibility.org is, but more importantly, I wanted you to explain why you look like you're on vacation.
Hi, Joel, and thank you for your interest in responsibility.org. And I am. Uh, Two of my boys have picked up the love for surfing, and this weekend my wife and I took them to Puerto Rico. We're in Isabela, Puerto Rico, and my 15-year-old is out in the ocean as we speak with a surf instructor. I'm just chaperoning. I'd rather be sitting by a pool, to be honest with you, but they're passionate about it, so I'm excited for them, and so we're having a good time.
Well, that's great, and I'm sure the weather is nice down there. It's not too bad up here, but I'm sure it's warmer in Puerto Rico than it is up here. And
No
eh,
doubt, 82 and sunny, 82 and
yeah,
sunny, not bad.
rub it in, Chris.
It's all right. I'll be back to reality in a couple of days.
Yeah, and then within about a month and a half, you'll have reality in the terms of a Washington summer. So,
No doubt about it.
you
Hot and
know,
humid. Yep.
Yep, that'll be wonderful. So, I suspect everyone in the alcohol beverage industry is familiar with discus. Some people who are not in the industry who may be watching this may not be familiar with discus, but I'm going to summarize that in about 5 words. Namely, discus is the trade association, I can't talk, the trade association that represents the distillers of American whiskeys and other distilled spirits
Yep.
beverages, right? But
Yep.
what is responsibility.org and was it started and what does it do and what's it all about?
You bet. Well, again, thank you for your interest. And of course, discus has been around since 1971, and its primary, job and role is to advocate for the interests, the commercial interests of the industry before policymakers. Responsibility.org has been around since 1991, and we're experiencing our 30th year anniversary this year. And essentially, the mission of responsibility.org can be very, very, and is very, very complementary to Discus. But its core mission are three things: prevent underage drinking, eliminate it as we know it, eliminate drunk driving and impaired driving, which we'll talk about, and promote responsible consumption. To the industry's credit, and it's something that the industry should be very, very proud of, the industry's always been on the front lines in tackling responsibility issues because we recognize we want legal drinking age adults to enjoy our fine products, but in moderation and responsibility. We also recognize if people abuse beverage alcohol in any form, it can create harm to themselves and others. So I'm proud to say over the 30-year history, and responsibility.org is guided by an advisory board of people with high credibility and expertise in traffic safety, health, education, media, and all of the above. They guide us on our programs. And thankfully, we've got some leading distilled spirits companies that have funded and has supported responsibility.org over the last 30 years. We are working now to try to expand the profile of responsibility.org because we hope that everybody in the beverage alcohol industry can engage with responsibility.org's mission. And we're in the process of doing that. And this platform gives me an opportunity to kind of showcase and promote it. Most importantly, advocating for the commercial interests of the industry is a very critical responsibility that I have as the leader of Discus and working with all of our great member companies. But promoting and advocating for responsibility can be complementary as well. And it is complementary. So I'm proud that many, many distilled spirits companies and many in the industry are invested in this. I mean, we've all seen situations or, God forbid, been in circumstances where someone has abused alcohol. And over 10,000 plus people die a year from drunk driving related fatalities. I mean, that includes certainly the drunk drivers that are out there and includes innocent victims as well. So, and I know we're going to talk about the HALT Act, which is a new piece of legislation that's been introduced on Capitol Hill. We're very, very excited about the prospects because we believe that in due course, eventually, the HALT Act and the pieces included in the HALT Act can help truly eliminate drunk driving. And I think we would all be thankful. And the more progress we make on responsibility, that is a greater license to operate and market and sell our great products responsibly.
So tell us a little bit about the HALT Act. What is it? What would it do? And I think you've covered, but you can go back and do it again if you want. And, why is Discus supporting, not Discus, why is responsibility.org? Well, I guess both supporting it.
Absolutely. Both Discus and responsibility.org supports the HALT Act. A couple of things. Obviously, Discus supports mandatory ignition interlocks, Discus and responsibility.org. So if you get arrested for a drunk driving offense, we support the court system to apply ignition interlock on a person's vehicle, because that'll keep them safe from drinking. And sometimes many of those individuals that are drunk driving, might have an alcohol use disorder, right? So ignition interlock will save their lives. But as technology has come about, we're on the cusp of electronic cars and driverless cars and all of the above. Technology can also be the answer to help in drunk driving and impaired driving as we know it. We do have an emerging challenge with the mix of alcohol and drugs. When you do that, that can be very, very lethal to someone can't commandeering a vehicle, obviously. So we're excited about the prospects of this legislation because it will ensure that the U.S. government is all in supporting technology that can be applied to vehicles that could end drunk driving as we know it. And I'm also proud to say Mothers Against Drunk Driving are very, very active in support of the HALT Act. And we're excited to join Mothers Against Drunk Driving in this overall effort as well.
Now, that's really interesting and probably for some people strange because who would think that Mothers Against Drunk Driving and the alcohol beverage industry, or at least the distilled spirits industry, would work hand in hand to promote a piece of legislation? But it really does make sense when you think it through. Can you explain why they would join together as versus go off and pursue their own separate little agendas?
You bet. Our mission is the same. We want to end drunk driving. Now, certainly, Mothers Against Drunk Driving came about, I think, around the mid 1980s.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, many that are engaged with Mothers of Drunk Driving are victims of drunk driving, family members, and what have you, right? And our mission is the same: to end drunk driving. And with technologies today, Uber, Lyft, and all of the above, there is no reason anybody should get in a vehicle today and drive drunk. So our missions are the same. We recognize, the emotion that is involved, certainly with a great organization like Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and we're here to help. And if I may, I'll tell you a story that really just helped kind of bring this to light for me. About 3 weeks into my job, coming back into the industry, both having the opportunity to lead both Discus and responsibility.org, I had the opportunity to attend a breakfast one morning, and I was flying off the seat of my pants, just trying to take everything in my early days of the job. And I went to what's called the WRAP breakfast, the Washington Regional Forgetting what RAP stands for, but
Washington
basically
Regional
it's
Alcohol Program.
thank you. I apologize. I'm on island time, so forgive me. So, and I really didn't know what to expect, to be honest with you. I was just looking forward to going to get a good buffet breakfast, right? And at that breakfast, they were recognizing police officers in the Washington, D.C. area, and Maryland and Virginia and D.C. For really being on point, getting drunk drivers off the roads and so forth. And during that breakfast, of course, I was in the moment and recognized the important role of those police officers and what they have done. But a gentleman by the name of Rich Leota got up and spoke. And his son was killed in December of 2015. He was a Montgomery County police officer, and he was out of his vehicle tending to a drunk driver, and another drunk driver tragically hit him. And Mr. Leota was telling the story. And that time, I think it was around December 8th, 2018. It just struck me. His story struck me. And Mr. Leota has been out on point trying to honor his son. So a year goes by. I go to the next breakfast. I always kept thinking about Rich Leota. And a year goes by, and I go to the RAP breakfast again in December of 2019, and Mr. Leota speaks again. And I would say, I thought about it, and I thought about it. And when Mr. Leota spoke again, I took the liberty of getting his email address, and I reached out to him. And I had breakfast with him in Gaithersburg, Maryland. And he took me to court with him. As he spectates every Thursday, he goes to Rockford State Court and watches convicted drunk drivers being dealt with by the judges and so forth. And I had the opportunity to spend 4 or 5 hours with him. So for me, on a personal level, having spent time with Mr. Leota and just seeing the pain that drunk driving has caused him, and thanks to the support and commitment by the board of directors of responsibility.org and the Distilled Spirits Council, we're on a mission. We're on a mission to end drunk driving as we know it. The HALT Act will be able to do it. Mr. Leota, I don't know if you see it, gave me a bracelet. I'm not one to wear jewelry, but it basically says, if I can read it real quick, just bear with me.
And we may have lost Chris. I think we did. Let's see if he comes back.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, we lost the video.
I feel like I'm teaching my class at Prince George's Community College online because this
Joel,
happens a lot.
Hey, Joel, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, do you mind? Can you edit this portion and I can call back in? I've lost the photo. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Okay, I'll call right back in.
Okay.
Okay. Keep going as I start. I was just going to read Noah Leota, the bracelet that Mr. Leota provided me. So as I was saying, Mr. Leota gave me a bracelet to honor his son. I'm not much in wearing jewelry, but I've worn it every day since I received this bracelet. And it says, Officer Noah Leota, end of watch, December 10th, 2015. Don't drink and drive. It just really struck me. And, I can say, when I went to that breakfast and really wasn't expecting, to me to have a moment in life, there's a lot of Noah Leotas out there, and too many. We have made great progress on drunk driving for sure. In the 1980s, 25,000 plus people were dying on the roads as a result of drunk driving. Now it's 10,000 plus thousand, but that's 10,000 plus thousand too many. So technology can be the answer. Ignition interlocks plays a prominent role today, and every drunk driver should have an ignition interlock applied on their car. But in due course, as technology comes around, it can truly eliminate drunk driving as we know it, keep people safe. We want people to enjoy our great products in moderation, have a great time, beverage alcohol plays a prominent and an important role in society, right?
Right.
And for those who choose to enjoy a cocktail from time to time, that is awesome. But we don't want people out on the roads abusing our great products and hurting other people and hurting themselves. And we believe the HALT Act can do that.
So, are you able to tell us some of the provisions in the HALT Act? It's sort of unfair to ask you down in Puerto Rico to remember what they are, but you know.
You got it. And I've got a little bit of a cheat sheet, if you don't mind. So I may
Sure.
have to look down. So just bear with me. So essentially, the HALT Act would expand the nation's ongoing efforts in automotive technology. And it would establish a regulatory process to test the technology and determine the feasibility. It sets forth an 8-year process to explore technology and test it and finalize the rulemaking and get it installed in new vehicles. NHTSA, which is the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, if it needs more time, they can get more time. But the answer in ending drunk driving is with technology. And we are very, very honored to support it. If the technology moves forward, there's a level of technology that they're looking at right now, but they've been doing it for a while, and it's taken just a little bit too long from my perspective. It's called Driver Alcohol Detection System for Safety. It's called DADS. What we want to just make sure is if people are driving over the legal limit, which is 0.08 nationally in all the states, for the exception of Utah, we just want to make sure they're not driving drunk. And we do have an emerging challenge where we're starting to see a rise in what's called impaired driving. That is the mix between alcohol and drugs. And right now, the technology doesn't exist to be able to detect whether it's cannabis or prescription drugs or what have you. So data is also an important key because sometimes people are hiring a kite and they're driving a vehicle. They may have had a cocktail or a beer, but they also may have illicit drugs in their system or prescription drugs or what have you, right? So we've got to be able to detect that as well. Look, the HALT Act will end drunk driving as we know it. It should be able to also get after impaired driving and polysubstance use, which is the use of alcohol and other drugs. And, we will all be safer on the roads as a result of that. And the industry will be stronger as a result of that as well.
Great, Chris. So now, one final question for you. What do you think the odds of passage are for this particular piece of legislation? That's always the question of the day in Washington. Is
No doubt.
can a bill get passed or not? Is there support in Congress for it?
We're going to have to work it, no doubt about it. It's going to take some work, but I do feel like the political environment is right for this. And in concert with Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and many other traffic safety advocates, I do feel like we can get this done. There was a horrible accident, I think about 2 years ago in Kentucky, and a drunk driver killed a family of 5. And they lived in the district of Debbie Dingell, the congresswoman from Michigan, a Democrat, and she's one of the lead sponsors of the legislation. So we're also looking forward to it being introduced in the Senate as well. And with that, I think we'll get it done. I want to be optimistic, but look, in this political environment, it's never easy. So we're going to work hard, very, very invested in getting this done, and failure cannot be an option because lives are at stake. Our industry is at stake as well. It's very, very important. And I think when we do get it passed and signed into law, I hope that day comes soon. It's something that the whole industry should celebrate and recognize that the day of drunk driving is going to end in due course. It couldn't happen sooner. I mean, let it happen sooner rather than later, obviously, right? But it should be a very, very proud moment for our industry.
Well, that's absolutely terrific. And the fact that both the industry and Mothers Against Drunk Driving are on the same page and helping to push this legislation, I'm sure will increase its odds of getting passed because one of the dirty secrets of Washington that people don't know out in the hinterland is that Congress likes to pass bills when it's got a large amount of support from the affected players. So I think that that'll really play a substantial role.
Yeah, Joel, let me just say this, if I may close on making a pitch for responsibility.org. It's been around for about 30 years. When responsibility.org was first formed, probably at the time, I came into the industry 4 years after responsibility.org was formed. It was called the Century Council at the time. But at the time, the industry probably didn't have the credibility to be at the table to tackle these tough issues, whether it's underage drinking, abusive consumption, or drunk driving. And responsibility.org, to its credit, thanks to the advisory board and the funding member companies, have really, really enabled a lot of progress. Underage drinking is at its lowest levels that it's ever been. And I think responsibility.org has played a prominent role to help do that. Drunk driving is at a low level. We got much more work to do as well, right? And we are trying to raise the profile of responsibility.org. Certainly the distilled spirits industry and many distilled spirits companies have funded it. But we think it can be an organization that is really supported by everybody in the beverage alcohol industry because its mission is core: eliminate drunk driving, eliminate impaired driving, underage drinking, eliminate it, and promote responsible consumption. So everybody in the industry, we've had great success over the last 20 years, particularly the distilled spirits industry, certainly. And we all should take part, whether it's to engage, support the programs. All the programs are free, or certainly become a member of responsibility.org as well. So if for those of your viewers that are not familiar with it, check it out, www.responsibility.org. It's a great organization, and it's something that everybody in the industry should be proud of.
Well, great, Chris. Thank you so much for your time. That's a good wrap for this little interview. Appreciate it. Appreciate you telling us about the HALT Act and also about why the distilled spirits industry is supportive of it. And we wish you the best. We wish your son the best with his surfing lessons out there in Puerto Rico. And I think you should get back on the beach and get a suntan, my friend.
You got it, Joel. Thank you. And please, anybody, please reach out to me. And thank you very much. And I'll go make sure he's still got a surfboard doing okay out there. So.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thanks, Chris. We'll see you again soon. And thank you, everybody, for watching. Have a great day. And bye-bye now.